Hello, everybody. Welcome to IST 140. I'm, of course, Professor S. This is today's lecture. Let's get into it. So I thought this would be a good time for refreshing you on some of the methods by maybe reintroducing some concepts that we've kind of briefly glanced over. What we're going to be doing is focusing on arguments and parameters, or the difference between them and how they interact with each other, and then also the javadoc. Well, once again, understanding methods a little better. So we've been using methods this whole semester, right? We've just now started, like in this new module, about creating them. And so with pretty much every single method, you put in arguments and it returns values, right? I mean, like there's like some interesting exceptions because like a method doesn't necessarily need arguments. Like some do, but like some don't. Like for instance, when we're reading a user's input where it's next int, next double, next line, or just next, right? So the scanner object dot next or whatever, notice there's nothing in those parentheses. Those are no arguments, right? It doesn't take any arguments. But in that case, they all return values, right? So in those instances, they return values, like whatever the user enters, right? Other methods, like we have string methods, right? So like in those parameters, we're comparing a string with the string that we attach that equals to method, and it will return either a Boolean value of true or false. So the point of the matter is like one of the things is like they work, right? So you put in arguments, you get values. When you're actually making these methods, you're programming, like it's little snippets of little tiny programs that you're using, and you're calling anytime you use that method, right? And so we use methods we use parameters as like variables that we're going to be using depending upon which time we use that method, right? So for example, the equals to string, or the equals to method, that the argument is the string, and so programmed in there's some parameter that I don't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but the idea is it's used in the code to determine if it is the same string as the one that the method is tied to, and so not every method has arguments, not every method has parameters, and so won't take arguments, and not every method returns values. Okay, the ones that don't return values, we know those are pretty easy to see because they say void in the heading. Okay, or at least the ones that we make, right? And let's see. So the javadoc, this kind of helps us as we use methods, right? So one of the things about methods is that we kind of divide our code up into oftentimes methods as part of it. Kind of makes it into nice bite-sized chunks. But the idea is like there could be tons and tons of methods in our program. And as you're working on it, you might lose track of what each of the methods does. Enter in javadoc. We've talked about this a little bit. And so what happens is like after you create that heading, if you do the slash star, I think that's how it will look for you guys. I have to mirror it because it looks different on mine. But anyways, with the slash star, after you create your heading, it breaks it down into a few parts where it gives you a part for describing the method. You have to put that in there, but it has the space for it. And then it comes up with the different parameters that you've put in here, and you just have to describe them. And then the return, well, it does the at return, so you can describe the return value. The idea is like essentially when you do that slash star thing, it gives you a template for the javadoc. And the javadoc's important for as you come back to methods. It's like wondering what the heck is this method, you can quickly reference. You know what it's supposed to do, what kind of arguments you can put in there because it describes the different parameters, and it tells you the what kind of values you can expect from return. One of the also important things about the methods is like this sense of encapsulation. kind of knowing that things work. So in having that kind of encapsulation, we are allowed to have some abstraction sort of thing. So like imagine that in the case that we're using this method here, which finds the hypotenuse, right? So this is dealing with Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. This finds the value of c in that equation. Now, the idea is like when making this method in the program, when you use this method, you don't have to worry about finding the hypotenuse. You just use that method, right? You don't have to worry about the Pythagorean theorem after this method. If you're trying to find the hypotenuse, you just put in the integer legs and it returns an integer hypotenuse. So the idea is like when you're doing other sort of things, it's just like method for finding the hypotenuse. And then it's like, well, what is that hypotenuse? Or how do we find that? And you go to the this code. Or you read whatever you need to from the javadoc, and if that's not enough information, you go to the portion that you coded before. Something else to kind of emphasize, we talked about variable scope before, and some of the things to re-emphasize is that, remember, in these methods, these are blocks of code. So like, for instance, I have here the Boolean variable let present. Right? And so let present is a variable inside this method. And so anytime this method is called, there will be that variable that's used. And then once the method is over, right here, it's done, right? Or actually, once it gets to the return let present, it's done and it forgets it, right? So it will it's kind of, imagine in the place of that method, it will replace that value with whatever it does. And then once it moves on, it doesn't remember what let present is. Similar to like when we did the for loops here, we created in this block here, we have I is created, right? Both declared and initialized. And once this for loop's over, so is I. So if we make reference to I after this, we're not going to know the computer's not going to know what the heck you're talking about, because it done forgot it at this braces right there. Just like after this method runs its course, you can't keep referring to let present because it's over it. Okay. Oh, one more thing that I want to emphasize before I move on to the practice problems is that when you're creating variables, make sure you use like a verb name for them. The thing is like methods they do stuff. And so in order to be effectively descriptive about it, you have to effectively describe what it's doing. Like in this case, this is finds letter. Okay, it finds a letter. Okay, we can look further into, we'd have a javadoc that would describe it a little further, but the idea is like at a glance, it finds a letter. Just like with the last one, which was like find hypotenuse or something like that, and or find hippo or hypo. It's fun when you prove words. But the idea is like when you glance at it, you kind of get an idea what it's supposed to do. Okay. And then if you need further information, you refer to the javadoc. Okay. Make sure you include javadoc for every method that you create, except for the main method. Don't worry about main method. Javadoc, it's like any other method other than the main method. Anyways, I think that's good for today. Hope you found this beneficial. I'll see you all later. Bye. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please press the like button below. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send a message to both me and the rest of the teaching team in Canvas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Don't send it through normal email. You will not get as fast response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, please leave in the comments below. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for the next video. Anyways, I think that's good for now. See y'all later. Bye.